This video is not intended to encourage or glorify any kind of drug use. The sole purpose of these videos is to educate you on the dangers of what these substances can do to you. Please do not do any of the acts mentioned in this video. I repeat, do not do any of the acts mentioned in this video.
Welcome to the world of Tales from the Trip.
Kratom ruined my life, quite literally. Realistically though, I ruined my life using Kratom. I take responsibility for my actions, but the reality is that I would not have these problems if not for Kratom. I have to do an enema every 1 to 3 days, depending on how bad the constipation and intestinal pain is, just to not die. I have to take lots of Miralax, etc. Laxatives do not work at all, and before anyone asks, I am not and have never been addicted to them. My motility is almost non-existent though. As we all know all too well here, Kratom is incredibly constipating. For some people, it's worse than prescription opiates, partially due to the fiber content in Kratom and all the extra alkaloids. For some people, even after quitting Kratom, it could take like 3 weeks or more just for things to start moving somewhat normally again. Anyway, I started using Kratom in November of 2016. I'm 25 years old, so doing the math, I just turned 18 then. At first, it was a literal miracle. It cured the PTSD that nearly killed me. I thought I had found the ultimate natural medicine for my brain. I used Kratom on and off and initially didn't get addicted to it. I started using it a bit more in like June of 2017. Things were going relatively well, but I definitely immediately had some constipation issues on and off from Kratom. I didn't even realize it at first, oddly, until it got bad. I was just so thankful to not be wanting to die. In like July of 2016, I started using Kratom a bit more often. And even that was maybe once a week or twice a week. In August then, things got bad. I'd used Kratom like 5 times in a week, and I hadn't gone to the bathroom once. I stopped Kratom immediately, and even then had withdrawal, though it was nowhere even close to what I would later experience. I'm seriously sensitive to withdrawal due to fibromyalgia. I was on vacation with my family and had to come clean about my bathroom issues. My family helped a lot, and I eventually got significantly less stopped up. But I didn't want to lose my new miracle. Due to my mental illness and flawed thinking, I thought to myself, well, maybe this time it won't be as bad, and I could just be proactive and take Miralax if things start to get worse again. Yeah, stupid. Things continued to kinda get worse, then better again, then worse again, then better. I justified it because Kratom worked so well for my anxiety and even made me ignore the bathroom issues. It seemed like a worthy trade-off since I knew a lot of chronic pain patients who had constipation issues, and I do also have chronic pain. In January of 2017, I reached 30 days without using the bathroom. Granted, I was not eating much at all by then. I tried everything. Laxatives, enema, Miralax, Linzess, prescriptions, etc. Nothing was working. I was beyond terrified and reading stories of people whose intestines ruptured and they needed an ostomy bag. And yes, I had stopped Kratom completely long before this. I went to the ER 3 times. They did nothing, literally nothing. They literally told me I might have a rupture and need surgery soon. All this due to Kratom and my stupidity. Eventually, my doctor helped me find the perfect combination that at least got me out of dangerous territory. 6 capfuls of Miralax per day, laxatives, and then a massive bag enema 3 times. Then when I got out of panic mode, I had to keep doing enemas. My guts never woke back up. I went another 2 weeks without going, and I had to start doing enemas again. I kept needing to use enemas, almost no laxatives though, just to use the bathroom. Things never got better again. I had a colonoscopy near the end of 2017, and they told me that there was nothing seriously wrong with my gut besides inflammation. Well, I went another 2 months without Kratom, and everything proceeded as it was. I started Kratom back again though, because I felt that if my guts were staying screwed up anyway, I may as well just start using again. Really dumb, and maybe things wouldn't be as they are now if I had just stayed away. I still have to do enemas every 1 to 3 days just to not die, or have intestinal pain, which is often uncomfortable, on the verge of pain regardless. It's been 6 years. I became extremely depressed in 2020 and had 3 suicide attempts by 2022. I used Kratom for the vast majority of these years, only slowing down to see if my guts had gotten any better. They hadn't. I also got severely addicted to research chemical benzos and had to taper over the course of a year with the doctor's help. I used 25 to 30 grams per day of Kratom and went cold turkey in 2019. It was so horrible. I didn't sleep for literally 12 days. It was on the verge of psychosis. I had my mom hide all the knives. The only thing that got me to sleep was being driven around in a car with my mom for several hours each day for a week. I eventually gave up again and used Kratom up until March 3rd, 2023. Since then, I am doing well, all things considered. My intestinal issues have gotten significantly easier to handle. My GI doctor thinks the damage may be permanent though. I'd like to get another colonoscopy done, but it is too expensive. I am 129 days off of Kratom and am the happiest I've been in literal years. The PAWs has basically ended now. I am now enrolled in college for this fall for a CS degree. I'm actually a formerly very successful app developer, but Kratom had ruined that. I'm now working on my app again and have a good shot at success if I stay motivated, which is easier than ever again. I released my first highly successful app at 15 years old, so I'm somewhat experienced. My fibromyalgia symptoms as well are so much improved, to the point I have some really good pain days now. Wow, I didn't realize it, but my fibromyalgia symptoms had gotten so much worse due to Kratom. The pain and temperature fluctuations were unbearable during Kratom use, and especially when stopping. Basically, I've come to say, even if Kratom has taken a lot from you, it can actually get better, even if you don't think it can. I've seen some very worrying posts over the years of others deciding to use enemas so they can use Kratom. Not a lot, but I've seen more than a few. Let this serve as a warning. After doing some research online and learning that Kratom acts on opiate receptors and was totally legal, I became intrigued. I found a good price on 30 grams of powdered super-grade Bali Kratom from a reputable vendor that was selling the stuff at a popular online auction site. Upon receiving the order, I immediately measured out a 7-gram dose and stirred the powder into 2 cups of grape juice. I drank the grainy concoction over the course of about 30 minutes. As I drank it, I noticed myself becoming more alert, but my mouth was also numbing a bit. Over 30 minutes, I sipped the juice until it was all gone. After it had started to set in, I felt pretty lethargic, but there was no noticeable feeling of euphoria whatsoever. Soon, I became aware of the effects of this drug. It was very sedating, but not in a pleasant way. It was overpowering, and the nausea was unbelievable. I had intense dysphoria. I crawled into my bed, and being so sedated, I was able to sleep. So about 2 hours after taking the stuff, that's what I did. The next day, I realized I had taken too much, and probably just needed a smaller dose. So 2 days after the initial experience, I tried again with 5 grams. I got less sedation, but again, no euphoria to speak of, except some slight stimulant effects on the come-up. I was nauseated again and thought this stuff was a waste, but it did help me sleep and I enjoyed the nap. I finished out the rest of the 18 grams I had remaining over the course of the next week in 6-gram doses mixed with cups of water. The naps I got from it were satisfying sleep, but it wasn't worth it as soon as I realized. I became quite constipated as this experiment went on, finishing off the remains of it. After finishing the last of it, I soon developed intense stomach pains from the constipation, a complete lack of passing bowel movements. I knew that opiates could affect this necessary bodily function, and this had happened to me. While Kratom may not be considered an opiate, it does work on the mu-opioid receptors, and I got the worst of it. It was awful. My digestive system was literally so backed up that I couldn't process food through my stomach. I couldn't eat much without throwing it up soon after because my food had no place to go. After a week of this horrible constant stomach pain, I started having sharp and intense pains on my left side. Fearing that this constipation had caused an inflamed appendix, I was scared but didn't want to see a doctor. Over the course of the next month, I did my best to find a regular supply of cannabis, which I smoked to ease the pain, and that helped get my digestive system working smoothly again. Overall, Kratom was a horrible experience for me. It wasn't fun while I did it. It was tiring and was very dysphoric at higher doses. I really thought it might kill me at some point in the first experience. Later, I thought that constipation would rupture my insides, and it nearly did. Some months later, I still have problems with constipation, and my left side still hurts slightly. To keep the story as short and sweet as possible, I am completely stuck to the grips of Kratom. Taking a few capsules for a pre-workout boost starting last June has escalated into me downing 15 to 40 grams of powder every 1 to 2 hours of the day. Despite my extreme usage, I'm stuck in bouts of severe anxiety, depression, lethargy every single day. Throughout the past year, I had several extremely traumatic things happen within my family and relationship that led me to continue to drive up the dosage. I was an aspiring bodybuilder stricken with severe mental and physical pain. A few grams before my workout took away all my pain and turned me into a beast again. It gave me mental clarity and made me feel like a little kid again. Fast forward into the winter, I began experiencing severe health issues with my kidneys and muscles. I lost 100+ pounds of pure muscle mass, along with my ability to walk or even lift my arms due to what is believed to be severe rhabdomyolysis. I continued to take Kratom as it helped ease the severe muscle pain I was experiencing. I worked my way up to about 100 grams per day before jumping off cold turkey when I was admitted to the ICU. After a lengthy 6-week stay, I was released, but was still in severe pain and had very little muscular strength. I began to use Kratom again at small doses, 10 to 20 grams per day, as it was the only thing that could take away my severe pain and gave me the ability to walk on my own free will. I ended up accepting a job that I was in no way, shape, or form ready for due to desperate need of money after spending almost 5 months unable to work. Work was exhausting. I could barely walk up and down the steps, and I was put to work in a labor environment. The only way I was able to keep up was by taking more and more Kratom to kill my pain and give me energy. I would spend my hour lunch break sleeping in my car, throwing up and passing out several times a week due to the exhaustion, but I stupidly continued to bite the bullet and take more Kratom to mask my pain. Fast forward to now, and I have amassed a 200+ grams per day habit just to function. I don't believe I ever even get to the point of expediting withdrawals, yet my depression, anxiety, lack of motivation, and fatigue are full blown. All the things I began taking Kratom for in the first place. I feel horrible taking the Kratom, but I feel even worse every attempt to taper down. If I am not dosing every 1 to 2 hours or dose on a full stomach, I feel completely useless and mentally a wreck. Even when I am taking my usual dosages, it's still a 50-50 shot that it will make me feel relaxed versus sending me into a manic episode. I plan to go to a detox center, then rehab, but I am horrified of what life awaits for me off Kratom. My body, mind, and spirit have been crushed so badly, and Kratom was the only thing holding me together for so long until my usage became way out of control. I want to at least taper to 100 grams per day before going to the detox facility to make the jump, but I just haven't been able to get the dosages to budge no matter what. Without Kratom, I'm stuck on the couch all day, riddled with pain, depression, and anxiety, but being a slave to the sludge has hurt me more mentally than anything else. I just feel I need a little momentum. I can't keep going backwards. I decided to try Kratom for the first time. I took it at 6 p.m. I made a tea with 10 grams of powder. It tasted horrible, but I gagged it down. By 7 p.m., I felt fantastic. It felt like taking Vicodin, but not quite as euphoric. By 8 p.m., I started having terrible stomach pain. It kept getting worse to the point where I was hunched over in pain and was miserable. It was the worst pain I have ever experienced. Then by 10 p.m., I started vomiting uncontrollably. I vomited 6 times by 2 a.m. By then, I was so exhausted that I fell asleep. I kept waking up every hour because of the stomach pain, but I didn't vomit anymore. I continued to feel dizzy and nauseated. By 8 p.m. the next day, I felt completely back to normal. It was the worst 24 hours ever. I felt like I was going to die, worse than any stomach flu I have ever had. I realize now that I took too high of a dose for a first-time use. I will not be trying it again, though. On April 15th, I will be 3 years clean from Kratom, one day before my birthday. Here's my story. I started with hydromorphone when I was 16 in high school and got my first taste of what opioid addiction was like, and oh boy, those withdrawals were not fun when I quit. I swore I'd never put myself through the pain of opioid withdrawals ever again, but then Kratom shoved its way into my life, or should I say, I brought it into my life. I was 18 and me and my buddies heard about Kratom. We ordered some and loved it right away. I did a decent amount of research and kept hearing about how it wasn't addictive and totally safe. What bullshit I was getting fed online, especially on r/Kratom. Started off taking 3 grams per day, then 6 grams per day, then up to 12 grams per day for about 3 months. I eventually ran out and realized I was getting minor withdrawals very similar to the ones of hydromorphone. Since I wasn't taking that much a day for very long, I didn't have a hard time quitting at first, but it was still hard. I'm 19 now, and in college, me and my 3 roommates all order Kratom, me thinking I'll be able to control it and use it responsibly this time. At first, it was under control. I'd take a 4-gram dose every once in a while after a stressful day or hangover. That didn't last long though. Slowly, I started to take more and more until I was back to 12 grams per day split between 2 doses, one when I woke up and one at night. Eventually, that turned into 3 6-gram doses a day, then to 4 7-gram doses a day. I just kept increasing the dosage, trying to chase that buzz, and would use more frequently as well. I dropped out of college and was back at home with my family and my Kratom. I was working as a cook and would have to always bring in Kratom to work halfway through my shift to function. I was transparent with my chef and he actually didn't care at all, let me quickly take my 7-gram dose when I needed to. That 7-gram dose 4 times a day didn't last long though. I started taking more and more until I hit 20 grams at a time every 4 hours, give or take. I was spending almost all my money on Kratom. I would order a kilo every 2 weeks. It was absurd. I somehow convinced my mom it was a health supplement for years. I would wake up every day in withdrawals and rush downstairs to take my first dose of the day. It was terrible. At this point, I've been taking 100 to 150 grams per day. I wouldn't even scale my doses. I would just take 6.5 tablespoons and mix it with water. It was so thick and disgusting, I'd throw up if I didn't drink it quick enough. It controlled my life. I would barely go out with my friends anymore because I'd have to bring my Kratom with me if we were out for long periods of time. One day I was drunk and my mom snapped at me and yelled, "Why are you always taking this green gunk all day? Why is my sink always a mess and clogged with your kratom?" I broke down and finally told her the truth. When she heard everything, she cried and promised to do everything she could to help me get off of this poison. I should mention that at this point, I was getting green patches on my skin, usually always my left arm and ankle. I looked into it, and yeah, kratom can literally dye your skin if you take enough. Thankfully, it's only temporary. Long story short, I did a very hard taper, then went cold turkey on April 15th, a day before my birthday. Worst birthday of my life, and the worst 2 weeks of my life. I was in so much pain, by the 6th day, I actually thought I was dying. The withdrawals from kratom made the withdrawals from hydromorphone a fucking walk in the park. If it wasn't for my mom and my close friends, I probably would still be on this gunk. I'll be 3 years clean soon, and let me say this, I also wouldn't have been able to do it without you guys. I'd be on here every day shaking and sweating, reading motivational posts during my withdrawals. It made me feel not alone. I'm not sure why I waited so long to say my story and give my thanks to this wonderful community. I hope maybe my story can help someone push through and quit like the stories I would read here 3 years ago. Thank you, and good luck to anyone trying to quit. Remember, the pain of quitting is only temporary. You will recover one day. Just keep on pushing. I've taken kratom on and off for about 2 years as a means of relieving mild depression and stress, and the longer I took it, the more I noticed its dissociative features. No one talks about kratom as a dissociative or as a drug that contributes to memory problems, but I've noticed being entirely detached where months could go by and I would have little to no recollection of what happened in between certain time frames. It felt like I was on autopilot, and events that I was personally involved in seemed very, very distant and detached. I would have difficulties mentally acknowledging the fact that my body was active, that my mouth produced coherent sentences, that my legs walked, that my hands were the same ones that I could see performing numerous actions throughout the day, etc. I understood that all of these processes were happening, but it felt like I was just an observer, a parasite residing inside an active person's body and looking out of his eyeballs, living his life. Though I stopped using it a few months back, it still feels like that to an extent. I can't seem to fully bridge the gap between mind and body. I expect this to go away after some time has passed, but I can't be certain. Earlier this year, my parents developed a series of health complications that needed to be addressed. Due to the overall buildup of stress and memories of a pleasant addiction, I began to use kratom again after several months of sobriety. At first, I used it once a week, but it soon grew to the usual 4 to 5 times a week, mainly on the weekends. This all led up to about 3 months ago when I woke up to a racing heart and had full body convulsions, which lasted over an hour. I did not lose memory of it, but heavy dissociation was present during and after the event. I think it was due to increasing my kratom usage several days before. I have never smoked or drank. I used a few legal highs once or twice, none of which I enjoyed. I used DXM 10 to 15 times, but that was years ago. Kratom was the only substance that I genuinely enjoyed and gladly returned to after short breaks. If DXM caused any damage, I would assume it was minimal, as I never abused the substance, and my last experience with it was over 2 years ago. I never took any prescription meds, and I never mixed kratom with any other substance. I was off work for about a week after the convulsions due to the onset of debilitating panic attacks and an incredible mental change, which came and went in waves. Once it set in, it would continue for about 2 days, after which it would lessen in intensity, only to repeat later on. The whole process was very cyclical. The dissociation would come and go, and the panic attacks would follow a similar pattern. All this would be accompanied by strange head sensations, which worsened when lying down. It felt like my brain was swelling, or as though I was constantly wearing an imaginary headband which wrapped around my head. For a few weeks after the convulsions, there were bizarre sensations of what I can only describe as energy that seemed to originate at the top of my head before washing over my entire body from top to bottom in waves. Sleeping was also difficult, and I would experience what felt like internal hypnic jerks. No actual muscles physically contracted, but I felt as though something inside me released a very subtle echo which seemed to reverberate throughout my whole body. As unpleasant as the dissociation and head pressure were, significantly worse were the panic attacks which accompanied the overall mental disarray. They would slowly creep up and encapsulate my entire being, eventually forcing me into a state of absolute terror. There was no pain or physical sensations involved, but I felt genuine dread, the likes of which I'd never felt prior. The day after the convulsions, I had actually went to work, only to leave 3 hours later because I felt like everything was absolutely wrong and that I was, in all likelihood, going to die. Very irrational behavior, but every fiber of my being was telling me to run. I stopped using Kratom immediately after the convulsions. 3 months have passed and my sense of awareness has been improving, though I still experience intense waves of dissociation and there's definitely been damage done to my memory, hopefully none of it permanent. The head pressure is still there, though to a much lesser extent than before. I would not consider myself a psychonaut or a troubled youth. I consider myself an average young adult and have led a fairly healthy life thus far. Nonetheless, I experienced what seemed to resemble a seizure, along with continued cognitive impairment after 2 years of inconstant use. I feel as though the issues experienced by me were caused primarily, if not entirely, by Kratom, and I would like for others to approach foreign chemicals with more caution than was done by me. My main reason for submitting this information was to warn others that are young and have their lives ahead of them, and still others that form the opinion that Kratom is a harmless natural supplement that has been used for millennia by South Asians. I'm not Asian, and neither were any of the active users I knew. White Europeans had no history of Kratom usage, and for all we know, our bodies could very well process mitragynine differently. Kratom was a very pleasant part of my life. It was my absolute drug of choice. If any of the descriptions of what I experienced seem vague, please excuse me as I am incapable of coming up with the exact terms to properly convey the sensations. P.S. Yes, I've been to a neurologist and have had a general practitioner take blood samples and all that. Everything came back normal, and I spent quite a large sum on these tests. I'm not going to look further into this topic. I was happy to hear that my brain didn't have any apparent damage, and that was more than enough. At this point, I am uninterested in doing anything outside of what I've already done. Before I begin, I'll provide some context for this report. I am a healthy 26-year-old male. I live a fairly active lifestyle and I eat well. I drink alcohol occasionally, and I don't smoke cigarettes. I've been smoking cannabis for 10 years, and I have extensive experience with psychedelics, namely LSD, MDMA, DMT, salvia, and psilocybin. I've also had cocaine, amphetamines, nitrous, prescription opiates, and various other drugs in the past, but never habitually. The only consistent health problem I've had is chronic migraines. Test results in the past have suggested that I have a somewhat sensitive liver. My blood work showed elevated liver enzymes for a period of about 3 weeks during a period of stress-induced migraines and subsequent overuse of NSAIDs, though the cause is not completely clear. This was resolved after total cessation of NSAIDs and alcohol, and my blood work returned to normal after a short period. I first came across Kratom on a recent trip to Thailand. A local friend of mine bought a bag of fresh leaves from a truck driver and gave me one. He mentioned it was a little like coffee, but with some sedating effects. It was very mild and not particularly noticeable. A couple of weeks later, a guy I met in a rural area offered me some pungent red liquid he'd brewed with homegrown Kratom. The taste was surprisingly good, and I really felt the effect this time. I'd taken a tiny amount of LSD earlier in the day, which had mostly worn off, and we were all smoking quite a lot of cannabis, but it was definitely noticeable. Upon arriving home, I was pleased to discover that Kratom is completely legal in my country. I found a reputable online vendor and promptly ordered a small amount of finely powdered Thai, Bali, and Borneo white strains. The smell was slightly familiar, but quite different to the fresh Kratom I'd had overseas. I first tried 3 grams of the Thai just to get a feel for the dose. I felt a very slight change in perception, maybe comparable to a cup of coffee and a small dose of codeine. A couple of days later, I tried a few more grams with the same effect. It was mostly unremarkable, but pleasant. I figured I'd experiment more when I had the time and put the rest aside for a rainy day. 3 weeks later, my girlfriend and I cooked up a batch of Bali strain in a pot with boiling water, about 10 grams each or whatever 3.5 teaspoons is. The taste was awful, the texture was even worse, but to my pleasant surprise, it was highly enjoyable. We spent the night sitting around, listening to records in a state of euphoric sedation. It was still quite mild, we were 100% lucid and coherent, but also paradoxically inebriated. A glass of wine and a joint amplified things a great deal though. Very interesting body feeling, incredible warmth, and fantastic dreamlike nods, reminiscent of a moderate dose of opiates. Closing my eyes for a moment would take me into incredibly vivid dreams about my childhood home. Platters of spinning colors, or rolling green fields with familiar faces, laughing and flying kites. This was great. I thought I'd hit the jackpot. A few nights later, I repeated the same process. The effects were the same, just wonderful stuff I thought. The next week I had a little more. There was definitely no craving or sense of longing for the feeling, but it was certainly an enjoyable thing to look forward to. Over the course of about 2 weeks, I took Kratom about 5 times, around 10 grams each time. After a usual enjoyable night with Kratom and a glass of wine, I awoke the next morning, feeling incredibly nauseated. I figured I was getting sick and carried on with my day. Eventually, I was overcome with overwhelming nausea and went home. I couldn't eat and I couldn't shit. I tried eating a banana and puked almost instantly. I dragged myself to the doctor the next day, dehydrated and in poor shape. They took an urgent blood test and found that my liver enzymes were through the roof. I was sent home with strict orders to go to the hospital if symptoms worsen. A couple of days later, I had become incredibly jaundiced and could do nothing but lie in bed, shaking and sweating. My kidneys were radiating pain throughout my whole body, and I had barely eaten a thing in 3 days. I was admitted to the hospital that night. After extensive blood tests and several ultrasounds, I tested negative for all common liver diseases and showed no signs of gallstones, bile duct obstruction, or anything else likely to cause such a reaction. The doctors were very baffled, and over the course of the week, I reluctantly isolated Kratom as being the cause of my condition. My specialist kindly referred me to several studies which show almost identical symptoms in others who have used Kratom recreationally. I was discharged from the hospital after a week with a diagnosis of a drug-induced hepatic injury. A month later, my jaundice is gone and I am able to eat. I'm still feeling fatigued and weak, still experiencing abdominal pains, and my liver enzymes are still abnormally high, though decreasing by about half every 2 weeks. So basically, unless you like having bright orange skin, being nauseated and in agony, and spending a week in the hospital being poked and prodded by confused doctors, stay the hell away from this stuff. Even mild recreational use can cause grave health consequences. So today, I almost died using a substance I originally thought was harmless. I am a 210-pound, 23-year-old male. I have recently been discharged from the Navy after a 4-year tour.
so I'm in excellent health, and until very recently, I spent a fair amount of time bodybuilding. My wife and I, feeling particularly good this morning, decided to do our stims of choice. I won't be discussing her use of stims, as she is a private person. We live in rural Alabama. There is no phone service out here, and cell phone signal is lost as soon as you enter the forest. This is important for later in the report. So I measured out 4.5 grams of ground Bali Kratom, my favorite because I hate edgy stims, and Bali has a very smooth high. Normally, I used a digital scale accurate to 0.001 grams. I put my dose in 11 00 gel caps and swallowed them down with Mountain Dew. After about 30 minutes, my wife and I were feeling great, so we began walking in the woods. We got to about half a mile out, and we started getting playful, so my wife began giving me a standing ovation. Very near climax, my heart began pounding very hard and very, very fast. I was unable to climax, to both of our disappointment, because I felt lightheaded and needed to sit down. I found a fallen tree nearby and sat on it, conversing casually with my wife, still lightheaded and not feeling good at all. This is the last thing I remember. The rest of this report is based on my wife describing what happened after I blacked out. After a brief conversation, I collapsed, falling off the log and laying on the ground, completely unresponsive. My wife felt my pulse, and my heart was basically fibrillating. I was still breathing, but barely. I do remember hearing my wife's voice, but I don't know what she was saying. She was trying to comfort me while slapping me, performing CPR, trying to sit me up, and hoping I wouldn't die. She was afraid to leave me, as she had no idea where we were, and our cell phone was at home. Not that it would have done us much good out here. She said she pulled my eyelids open, and my eyes were rolled to the back of my head. After about 30 minutes of CPR, I began to come to, and for about 10 minutes after waking up, I was so weak. The best I could do was breathe and make eye contact with my wife. After a short time of rest, my wife helped me walk home, gave me a cigarette to calm my nerves, and I began writing this report. In the end, I think I'm fine, but I'm just glad my wife knew what to do to keep me alive. I will never try Kratom again. I hope this will reach those that are contemplating trying Kratom. I am a 25-year-old of exceptionally good health. I should also preface this by stating that I have very few allergies, and I have never had any bad bodily reaction to any legal or illegal substance, until I tried Kratom. A few months ago, I purchased 15 times extract after reading of the opium-like quality of this legal plant. I depleted the whole baggie within 2 weeks' time, taking a strong dosage, usually every other or third night. The effects were incredible at first. Euphoria, warmth, bliss, everything you read in these forums. By the fourth dosage, everything went wrong. Within hours, I felt an intense, steadily increasing pain in my abdomen. The pain became so great that I was eventually curled up in a ball on my couch, vomiting helplessly on the floor. At the time, I figured I simply ate a dinner contaminated with some microbe. The next day, however, I felt chills. My urine was the color of black tea, and I experienced an intense nausea. The condition would not go away. By the 5th day, I figured this was not a regular food contamination problem. My whole body and eyes were a dark yellow color. Jaundice had set in. After several blood tests and doctor's visits, I was diagnosed with cholestatic hepatitis, a non-infectious liver disorder where your gallbladder essentially shuts down for some time. My liver panel blood test showed elevated ALT, AST, alkaline phosphate, bilirubin, and serum albumin levels. There is essentially no treatment besides taking compazine for the nausea, which in itself is a horrible drug. It's used in psychiatric wards to mellow out and dumb down residents. My condition lasted 2 weeks. This was by far the worst illness I've ever experienced in my whole life. At times, I literally thought I would die. I understand that I punctuated my story with drama, but I feel it is necessary to give caution to those that want to try this substance. It very well could have been that the extract was tainted with lab chemicals. So I bought this Kratom extract that is supposed to be the strongest concentration ever, 0.25 grams being equal to 10 grams of regular Kratom. The reasoning was that it would be easier to drink, since the taste is outright nasty. I will divide the experience into two. Day 1, I took 0.25 grams and felt the regularly reported effects, euphoria and slight buzz. I felt good. The day after is when things got ugly. I developed a horrible stomach ache that radiated to my back. I could barely breathe. I felt as if I had indigestion and constipation. In an effort to clear my painful intestines, I downed some milk of magnesia. The pain had me unable to go to the gym for a week. I was almost bedridden for these days. Fast forward to day 2. 2 weeks later, I decided to give Kratom a try again, since I didn't think that the pains and Kratom were related. Boy, was I wrong. I downed 0.25 grams again, and same as last time, I got the feeling of euphoria, light buzz, and well-being coming on rather quickly, 20 minutes. I enjoyed this for 3 hours, and went to sleep sober at about 11 p.m. The real fun began at 3 a.m. when I was woken up by stomach pains. I woke up and went to the guest bedroom, so I didn't wake up my wife, and I played some Xbox waiting for this feeling to pass so I can go back to bed. That didn't happen. 45 minutes later, I was on the floor of the bathroom in fetal position, gasping for air. It was the same pain that I had 2 weeks ago, only stronger. It had radiated to my back, and I could barely breathe. The pain would last for about 20 minutes and suddenly go away, only to come back again 5 minutes later. I lasted in this roller coaster all of 5 hours when I decided to drive myself to the ER. The pain was so intense, I was very worried about crashing on my way there, even if the ER is only 15 blocks away. If I pressed my hands around my gallbladder, it would feel like I was being stabbed. I got there, and I was immediately administered an IV with 1 milligram dilaudid, and that was the best relief I had ever felt in my life. Tests and questioning began: EKG, ultrasound, blood work, CAT scan with contrast. Doctors did not find anything, with the exception of 2 very elevated liver enzymes. ALT was at 340, AST 250, 6 times normal. So I had to spend the night, with more dilaudid being administered every 3 hours religiously, 1 milligram at the time. The next day, my liver hormones were trending down, and took a full week before I was back to normal. The doctors were all baffled, as they had no clue what did this to me. I did not disclose Kratom, as I knew that they had no idea what it was, and they'd be quick to blame it. I was released with a no raw seafood warning, since it was my last meal before this. My wife ate the exact same thing that I did, and she was fine. As soon as I got back home, I threw the Kratom away, and vowed to do more research next time I experiment with something. I still have residual pain. I hope that it will go away quickly.
Before I begin, this report is going to be super long because it documents the past few agonizing years addicted to this. I also want to say a few things about Kratom that you need to know. Kratom is definitely a dangerous drug that gets you high. No, it's not dangerous like oxys, perks, or whatever kind of hard drug is out there. It's dangerous in the sense of its subtlety. You wouldn't expect a legal drug that you can buy at a head shop to be this controlling over your everyday life. I'm not saying that you will get addicted like me, but there's definitely a possibility, and I'm writing this story in hopes to keep you away from this devil of a drug. Another thing I have to say is that there's a common misconception that Kratom doesn't get you high, that it's just a mood boost or even nothing at all. Now that might be true for some people, but for me, I could definitely feel the euphoria and stimulation. If you take high doses like me, you will feel high, trust me. I'm high as fuck right now typing this. There are also people who can get hepatotoxicity from it. Usually you would know if you had this if it happens right after you start. Jaundice is the main thing you will notice appearance-wise if this were to happen to you. Luckily, this hasn't happened to me yet and doesn't really happen to that many people. I think people are afraid of this phenomenon because there are a lot of stories on the internet of people describing how they got hepatotoxicity from Kratom. The reason behind this, in my opinion, is because what happened to them is so crazy that they need to make sure all of the internet needs to know. That's just what I believe. The last thing I want to say about Kratom is something positive. I think Kratom can be very beneficial to people who are going through opioid, alcohol, or benzo withdrawal. I think it can help you get off of that much more dangerous substance and put you on something that is still bad, but not nearly as bad as those. The risk in that, though, is that if you were addicted to the previous substance, you will 100% be addicted to Kratom. Like I said, though, out of those four, Kratom is the least harmful. So the only reason I would recommend this drug would be for people already suffering through horrible addictions and withdrawals. I've read lots of stories of opioid addicts switching to Kratom and it being a lifesaver for them. Now that I've explained my views on the substance, let me take you on a journey through my ongoing abusive relationship with Kratom. Before I talk about how I got to using it, I want to tell you what or who influenced me to do it in the first place. I had a friend in high school who I'm no longer friends with, and I'm glad I'm not. He was addicted to Kratom and we were all doing drugs at that time, so I wasn't really concerned with his use. Come to think of it now, though, I'm probably more addicted than he ever was. I remember in one of the classes I had with him, he would bring a bottle of water and put a shit ton of Kratom powder in it, mix it up, and then drink it. Ugh, so nasty, the taste was awful. No one questioned him drinking a green liquid because he was a health nut vegan who would lie and say it was spirulina if anyone asked. I was never interested in taking it after watching him drink those disgusting green waters, but one day we were at a head shop and he was going to buy some. I said fuck it and I'll try it. He was super excited that I wanted to try the Kratom, but looking back now, if he was anything close to a good friend, he should have said no. I remember the Kratom clear as day. It was a tiny bottle with 15 capsules inside. It was pretty expensive too, but it was not an extract. I think it was just more potent than normal Kratom. He gave me 7 and he took 8. I was so excited to be high and see what he was raving about this whole time. We were hanging out for a little while after this and I wasn't feeling anything, so I called BS on his claims. But then, I went home and I immediately felt it. I was so stimulated and euphoric, it almost felt like an Adderall. When I laid down on my bed, I felt so good and I knew I wanted to do this again. Since I'm already dragging the story along, I'll just skip ahead to how I got to the level I'm at today. So basically, the first time I tried Kratom that I described previously was in 2017. I didn't really use Kratom that much up until 2019. I would take it 2 to 3 times a week and I used it only for when I was going out or going somewhere I didn't feel like going. I do remember one time I took Kratom before I went to my girlfriend's house and decided to take 10 grams of it, and my regular dosage, mind you, was 5 to 6 grams. I was so messed up at her house and it was so hard for me to hide it, but I did. I was shaking, my vision was wobbling so bad, and I had major anxiety. Trying to talk to her dad was like speaking in front of thousands of people in an audience. I was that nervous. Luckily though, it wore off in a couple of hours and I was dressed nice. So hey, people who take drugs don't dress nice. Sarcasm. Skipping to the summer of 2019 is when the repeated use took place. I have a tiresome job and wanted the day to be more fun. I decided I would take Kratom halfway through my day to get me through the last couple of hours. Honestly, remembering this moment of my Kratom addiction makes me really sad because at this point I wasn't balls deep into abuse. I was just taking around 7 to 8 grams once a day. To some people that might seem like a lot already, but compared to what I'm going to tell you later, it's nothing. I basically did this routine every day until one time I decided to take a second dose to finish off the day and take the first dose earlier. It was the same dosage but just doing it one more time. This decision was the one I regret the most out of all the other decisions I've made during this time. This is also around the time I started getting panic attacks. I'm not sure if Kratom had anything to do with it because I was also drinking shitloads of caffeine too. I would doubt it if it wasn't at least 35% why I suffered these attacks. I did the 2-dose-a-day routine for months, and for the first time in this whole experience, I knew I had a problem. I remember stopping cold turkey for a week and some change. I did not feel bad physically, but mentally I wanted it so bad. When I stopped taking it, I had an urge just to feel something, anything. I bought a Juul just to try and get a buzz, and I never smoke whatsoever. I bought those energy boosters that come in a 4-pack at the gas station, and boy, did my anxiety skyrocket. I got a panic attack from doing this and didn't take those pills again for a while. My dumbass still never learns though, as I have done these pills probably around 10 more times since then, and most of the time I get a panic attack and pray that I don't die. It's going to be hard to believe this next part, but believe me, it's very true. The feeling of nothing was draining me, so I resorted to taking a couple Advils to relieve my cravings of euphoria. As you may have guessed, I didn't feel shit and was just suffering. To my surprise though, around the end of that Kratomless week, I was fine. I didn't have a desire to be high or take Kratom, but something changed on that last day. Up until now, this was the closest I have ever come to stopping Kratom, but as you can tell, there's still more to this depressing story. I wanted to do Kratom and told myself that I was just gonna buy it one more time and be done with it. Well, I bought the 5-pack of the OPMS Gold Extract pills from a head shop and took one. When it kicked in, I felt so fucking good and knew that my habit was going to continue no matter what I told myself. I went back to 2 doses a day for a period of my life, and since then I have stopped taking Kratom about 3 times. One time was for 3 days, and the last 2 times were for a little over a day, so yeah, I pretty much haven't stopped since then. It really only goes downhill from here, but the worst part of my Kratom addiction happened in late 2020 to 2021. I apparently thought that 2 doses wasn't enough, so I started taking 3. Yep, you heard that right, 3 doses a day. I also raised the dosages to 9 grams each dose. So during this extended period of time, I was doing 27 fucking grams a day. Sometimes more, sometimes less. I don't know what urged me to do this, but I did it. I would dose before I got to work, halfway through the day, and then near the end of my workday so I'd be a little high at home. I was also scarfing these capsules down with Bangs, the energy drink with 300 milligrams of caffeine. I would drink 1 bang for my first dose and 1 bang for my last dose. I still can't believe I did that shit. There were also some days where I would take the normal dose in the morning and then take like 3 to 4 more grams 45 minutes after. Please, don't be like me. When I was doing these large doses of Kratom each day, my anxiety started skyrocketing. I never had anxiety in high school. I was carefree and didn't really give a fuck about anything. Now though, I was a worried and stressed mess of a person. Basically at this point, I was just taking Kratom to not only feel high, but feel normal. I felt like I needed to take Kratom to get through a day of work, and I never missed a dose to achieve this normalcy. I hope people who are listening to this understand that I never intended to do Kratom daily like this, but it slowly crept its way into my soul and mind and took control of it. Another thing I want to add is that my tolerance has pretty much stayed stagnant. I can do 8.5 grams and still feel stimulated. So even doing these large doses repeatedly never really raised my tolerance, unless you are comparing it to my first 2 years where I wasn't addicted. Anyways, I did 3 doses a day for months until I finally stopped taking that halfway through the day dose and only take it in the morning and late afternoon. It has been like that since then, with some minor changes involved. I have no idea how I was able to cut down a dose, but I'm glad I did. The thought of doing 3 doses nowadays is so insane that I can't believe I used to be like that. So not only does this addiction take hold of your mind and spirit, but it also takes control of your wallet. Every couple of weeks I go into a head shop to buy the 500 capsule Kratom bottle and also buy the OPMS Gold Extract sometimes too. If you ever do Kratom and my story is somehow not deterring you away, please don't ever buy the extract. It is so powerful and costs so much money to keep up with. I have been taking them a lot more recently, and it costs $50 for 5 extract pills where I am located. To give a rough estimate as to how much I spend on Kratom yearly, it would have to be around $5,000, I'm not shitting you. It could be more or it could be less, but I would take the former. Since I haven't really described the effects, I will do so now. The peak of the Kratom high feels like your body got a little bit more numb, you are more sociable, in a better mood, and just everything becomes a little bit more alright in your life. I compare this addiction to a caffeine addiction. You're going to feel better after you ingest it, and this feeling of improvement will become necessary and your body will require you to take it every single day. You are activating the reward system in your brain from these substances, and that's why it's very hard to quit. Since becoming addicted to Kratom, there are many things that have happened to me, both physically and mentally. Physically, I'm very fatigued and tired all the time. That could be due to my job, but the Kratom doesn't help it. I also shake damn near all the time, and if I do the extracts, the shakes become more pronounced. I also see static and floaters in my vision, which can go back to my psychedelic use, but I feel like the Kratom is only making it worse. As long as I don't focus on it, I won't notice it. I'm not as worried about the physical detriments to my body as I am the mental ones. I have extreme anxiety, I don't like going out, I'm afraid to talk to women, and a lot of friends I have had have basically disappeared because I'm nervous to see them, and I also panic a lot and feel depressed most days. I feel like I am also just stuck in my own thoughts. These are bad thoughts too. Every time I think of something, it always ends up turning out negative. I'm not going to say I'm never in a good mood, but I'm definitely in this distressed state more than in a cheerful state. There is one positive thing to come out of all this though, and it's that I have a severe amount of empathy towards others. I try to help people in need and do whatever I can to make their lives better. If my life already sucks, I don't want others to feel the same pain as I do. This kind of empathy though is also a negative for me. I feel like since I know everyone else's pain, that I will never be happy again. The knowledge of the suffering of the human race and also innocent animals terrorizes me daily, knowing that I can only do so much. I'm not saying I'm a good person either. I still make mistakes and do bad things, so don't get it twisted. Sometimes when I talk to people, I'll start stuttering my words because I'm already thinking of the next sentence I'm going to say, so the words jumble into each other and it comes out as a stutter. I have also noticed I have weird tics where I grab my chin and scratch my head when talking to someone, usually when it's a question. When I notice this, I immediately stop. My old counselor, who I don't visit anymore, noticed this about me and made me paranoid about it ever since. Yeah, thanks a lot. People have also told me I'm very funny and calm. I can only be funny because of the torment my mind goes through on a daily basis. That's why, if you haven't noticed, comedians are more likely to kill themselves. Just look it up and you'll see it happens quite frequently. I wouldn't say I'm suicidal, but I've definitely thought about it a couple times. Whether that's just crashing into the median on the freeway or shooting myself. I can't say I would ever actually do this, but I've never gotten to the point of it being even close to doing those things. There is not one person that knows I am addicted to Kratom. People know I have taken it before, but they do not know anything past that, like the extent and frequency of my use. It is very easy to hide that you're on it because it's not going to fuck you up like a strong opioid or stimulant will. It gives you a mix of both that balances the two to create a normal person. People who see me daily think that's the real me. No, that's the Kratom-induced sack of animated limbs. Currently, I'd say I can manage the doses better. I still do a lot, but I can wait to do a dose. Unfortunately, I still have to do 2, but before, I had to do it at a specific time. There is still the lingering problem of it being on my mind before I take it. For example, before my second dose, I'm pretty much always thinking of Kratom up until I do it. I wait until my lunch is digested and my stomach is more empty, because empty stomachs do make a difference. Although, over the summer I was super high from taking and eating breakfast after. I did take an extract though, so that could be why. The anxiety nowadays has gone down a little, and same with the depression, but I'm prescribed medication, so I'm sure that's helping. I do not drink or do any other drugs, so I guess that's one thing to be happy about. I forgot to add to that period of time I was doing 3 doses in a day, I was also drinking quite frequently. Somehow though, I feel worse than back then. Maybe I don't, as it's hard to go back in time to see how I felt. I'm hoping that all these mental and physical symptoms go away if I stop taking Kratom, because it's getting to the point of being unbearable. I wish I could talk to a close friend about what's going on inside my head and the insufferable addiction I'm going through. I'm just so embarrassed to tell someone. It's not like weed or alcohol where it's normal in society to be addicted to those substances. Yes, people who smoke every day are addicted. I do not care what you have to say. Kratom, on the other hand, is not really well known with normal people in society, and the people that do know what it is think it's K2 or some shit, which it's not even close to. My short-term goal with this addiction is cutting it down to 1 dose a day and cutting out all the extracts. The bad part about the extract is that I can afford it. I mean, it's great that I'm financially stable, but I hate how much I love those things. The long-term goal I have, obviously, is stop taking it completely. I really don't know how long that will take or if it will even happen at all. I just know something has to happen in my life to deter me away from it forever. Even if I do stop, am I going to end up back on it? I hope that my mind will trample this stupid fucking addiction once and for all, and I will go back to living a normal life without the satanic substance. I can't even recall what it was like before this took over my life. I'd say that Kratom has definitely ruined my life. I know that I'm still young and have room for improvement, but the future looks completely bleak in regards to Kratom use. Until I go months without taking a single Kratom capsule, I will not be satisfied with my life. Even if I stop taking it for months, there is still a chance I will be super stressed, mad, or whatever feeling that makes me want to escape that reality for just a short period of time. I hope none of you think this story is bullshit and can't happen because it's Kratom. It's 100% true, and I want you all to take what I have to say to heart because I don't want anyone to experience the horrors that I'm going through. How Kratom fools you is its subtlety. You may not realize you have a problem until it's too late, just like me. It's just like being an alcoholic, a caffeine addict, or even a food addict. Any kind of addiction is bad, some are worse than others though. You can still function normally on this and look as though you're clean, but in reality, you know you're not any better off than someone suffering from a worse addiction. You have the same problems as them, just not as severe. To end this journey I have taken you through, I just want to say that you should never take Kratom under any circumstances, unless you are going through a horrible opioid, benzo, or alcohol withdrawal. Those are seriously the only people I would recommend taking it. Even then though, if there is a way to combat your withdrawals or addictions with something else, please do that instead. If you are currently taking it but are just doing it occasionally, don't ever take more than that. If you can keep it under control like that, then it won't cause you that much harm, but you never know if it will lead to what I'm currently going through, or even worse. If you would have told me I was going to be addicted like this 4 years ago, I would have taken the crack you were smoking and take a hit of that shit because there's no way in hell someone could get addicted to this. Just please be careful, seriously, your life can be negatively changed forever.
Hello everyone, the Trip Keeper here. This will be a different type of video than you're used to. I have a script here that I will be reading, but I'm not going to read it like how I normally do for the stories on this channel. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the Kratom alkaloid 7-hydroxymetragenine and read some horror stories from users' experiences. I just wanted to say that before I get into this, so let's get started. 7-hydroxymetragenine products have hit the market and spread like wildfire. There are many places you can buy these products at, and they are relatively cheap. If you guys don't know what 7-hydroxymetragenine or 7-OH is, it is a terpenoid indole alkaloid from the plant Mitragyna speciosa, commonly known as Kratom. Yes, Kratom. It was first described in 1994 and is a natural product derived from mitragynine present in the kratom leaf. 7-OH binds to opioid receptors like mitragynine, but research suggests that 7-OH binds with greater efficacy. So yes, it's a stronger alkaloid. The stuff is being sold online and at stores with increasing dosages. In one single pill, there are products with 7-OH in them that range anywhere from 10 milligrams all the way to 40 milligrams. Now, I saw that on Reddit the other day, yesterday actually. Someone, I think it's like more of like a black market type of thing, but there are lots with 30 milligrams in it, but I did see one with 40 milligrams in it, so it does exist, it is out there. If you didn't know, 40 milligrams is a lot. Yes, it is a lot. When I was addicted, I was taking, in each tablet, it was about 17 milligrams, and I was probably doing about 32 to 48 milligrams per day. But yeah, I feel like they will only be adding more and more as time goes on, because it's just people are going to get more addicted. It's getting popular, and everyone is just buying this stuff. So I will say before I continue on that 7-OH is good for people who are addicted to stronger opioids like prescription painkillers, heroin, and fentanyl, and also for people who suffer from severe chronic pain. Hello, Ozzy. It has been a godsend, and I don't want to take away from those people who get to use it for those reasons. This is specifically for people who take it recreationally for no purposes other than to feel its effects. So this is for people who just want to get high, basically. So this is a warning to those people. For people with chronic pain, there has been a lot of success stories with it, and I'm glad that you don't have to be on stronger opioids like oxycodone or hydromorphone or even heroin or fentanyl, because that is definitely more dangerous. But yeah, I'm glad that you are able to have something that's on the market to help with that. But this is specifically for people who are taking it, who are just getting high, and they want to feel the effects of the 7-hydroxymetragenine or Kratom, other Kratom products as well. As you guys know, I went through withdrawals from this stuff over the summer, and I'm currently over 4 months clean from Kratom and 7-hydroxymetragenine. It was very hard to quit as my withdrawal symptoms were horrible, especially with the restlessness. I went into great detail with my video about it, so I won't go any further. I just want you all to know that since I experienced the effects from this substance, I have a different perspective from those who are addicted or have never done or heard about 7-OH. So yeah, I experienced lots of withdrawals for almost 2 months, I'd say, but the peak of it was about 2 to 4 weeks in, and it hit me on my vacation to Utah, and I experienced severe restlessness. I could not get sleep. I could not get comfortable anywhere. I had to keep on walking around just to, feel normal. Like I couldn't do anything I could not be comfortable anywhere, and it was terrible. And also with my pain, since I work at the post office, I have a lot of pain in my back sometimes from carrying the satchel with the packages and stuff in it, and then other things. So the Kratom was helping me with that pain. So once I stopped doing the Kratom, after the first 1 to 2 days, I didn't have any withdrawal effects whatsoever. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be really easy. But then the third and the fourth day, that's when the withdrawal symptoms started coming on. And I started getting severe back pain. It was probably the worst back pain I've ever felt in my life, because that Kratom was helping me, relieve that back pain. But luckily right now I do not have any. I haven't really had back pain since then, maybe just occasionally here and there. But the Kratom was really blocking the pain that I was getting from that. So all of that at once just came on me, and it was very, very powerful, very strong. So that shit is no joke. But that's basically what I wanted to summarize about 7-hydroxymetragenine. I wanted to read some horror stories here. I can try to read in my Trip Keeper voice, but I will just try to read it just to get the point across, because I just want this video to come out because I think it's a very important lesson. And yeah, so it won't be the same way, I put story 1, wait 10 seconds, and then I'll read it like, my Trip Keeper voice, and then go into the next one, wait another 10 seconds, stuff like that. This will just be in order, and I'll just go from flipping from page to page. So yeah, but I know that this video might get some hate because the Kratom community is very defensive about their sacred plant, and yeah, people on there, people who are addicted to it, have been for years, get very defensive about it, and it's scary because they don't want to admit how much they're addicted to it, how much it has ruined some of their lives. Except if you are a chronic pain patient, like I said, if you have chronic pain or were addicted to stronger opioids, those people, I can understand why you'd be mad. But we're not talking about you. We're talking about people who are specifically, especially younger people who are trying to find that high. And it is growing in popularity because you could just walk into a head shop, buy online, and get this stuff really easily. And it's just so addicting because the pleasure you feel from the effects, it is just like, wow, I can't believe this is legal. So yeah, it's very, very powerful for it being on the market. But yeah, let's read some horror stories we got from Reddit. It actually took me a little bit to find some stories. I think I found them all on r/quitting Kratom, so it's a very good sub. I used it when I was quitting Kratom to try and help, but you just gotta cold turkey it and just get off of it and stick through it. But it's very, very tough. But yeah, I found some stories here, so let's read them. 70H, what the fuck is going on with me? So I've been a Kratom user for over 6 years. It has been a lifesaver and made me never touch hydros, perks, oxys, etc. ever again or even crave them. I don't smoke weed, although I have nothing against it. I drink 2 to 3 beers maybe every 3 to 4 months, not really a drinker. And thank God I don't really have any other vice or addiction. Kratom has helped in every aspect of my life. For the last 3 years, I've been using extract. I stick to one brand and I never go above my usual dose. It worked for me and I never had any issue with it at all. I know it's not the best, but it has really helped me overall. The last 3 months of my life has been a whirlwind of stress and anxiety. I have a wife, a little guy who's 6 years old, and I work 2 jobs to support our family. Wife works as well. One day, about 1 month ago, my usual Kratom shop introduced me to the 70H hydroxy stuff. They said it's been selling like hotcakes and even stronger than the extracts. That's all they had to say, and I was ready to try it. The first time I tried it, I felt incredible. Something told me this was dangerous as hell, but it felt 10 times better than my normal extract. After that, I was buying 70H on and off along with my normal extract. Luckily, I took a week off and went back to my normal extract because I knew the 70H was too damn good. Even after not taking 70H for 1 day, I felt mild depression, but nothing major. I felt better 3 days after once returning to my normal dosing routine. Well, for the last month, I've been buying 70H along with my regular extract and mixing both of them together. What a terrible idea. The last 2 weeks, I noticed I began feeling extremely tired and depressed even when taking both. That was a sign from my body saying I'm taking too much and need to drop the 70H ASAP, so I've been slowly tapering off the 70H. Now the extract feels like it's not even working by itself. 3 days ago, I woke up extremely depressed and also felt a bit of anxiety. I have severe anxiety and depression, and it's a big reason I started Kratom, but I didn't think too much of it and just figured I'm having a rough week. The next day, I woke up with very bad anxiety and horrible depression and couldn't figure out what was causing this. Last night, I hit full-blown withdrawals. I just couldn't believe it because I figured I was still taking my extract and tapering off the 70H so I would not experience them. I never felt such horror. I was drenched in sweat, woke up literally every hour, constantly switching between feeling hot and cold. I had a massive panic attack, restless leg syndrome. I could not stay still, so I kept getting up out of bed and pacing, and it felt like nothing worked. My poor wife was kept up with me every hour, and she is exhausted now too. I felt so bad. This morning, I feel extreme depression. I almost called out of work, but I have to tough it out. It was the worst night of my life, and I'm dreading what I will be experiencing tonight. I'm exhausted, anxious, and depressed. I'm just shocked how withdrawals could kick in this fast, and I haven't even completely gone off the 70H. I'm reading on here that even just 2 weeks of use, people didn't start feeling better until 3 weeks of quitting it. What the fuck? This is a nightmare, and I wish I would have never touched 70H. Yeah, as you can see, this guy built an addiction really quickly, and he got the withdrawal, so you got to be very, very, very careful. Okay, so this next story is called 70H. Kratom was the hardest, darkest cold turkey of my life. I finally quit 70H and Kratom. I'm going to do a write-up soon about that journey to help others, but for now I want to place this here as a warning. I got sucked into the 70H Kratom market for 5 months on a relapse, and the withdrawal was the most depressing, sad, darkest I have ever felt, and I've quit IV heroin. They're doing something so shady and bad oxidizing Kratom alkaloids. They're so strong I was hooked first dose. Please stay far away from this stuff. I was sweating bullets. I would poop myself in my sleep. I had primal fear. It was like a scene from Trainspotting. I've never felt this depressed in my life, and I've had really bad depression in the past. 70H is insanely addictive and took thousands from my bank account in a short amount of time. They're even pressing it in tabs that look like street fen. Stay away, guys. Took me 14 days to feel normal, and I still feel pretty sad and dull, but it made normal Kratom withdrawal feel like a minor cold. This was, in my opinion, just as bad of a withdrawal as Fent. I'm clean and I'm staying clean from all Kratom products. Glad to have my life back in my hands. So yeah, this guy experienced some very, very hard times. And, it's different for everybody. Sometimes, you might not even experience withdrawals. Your body could just take it. But most of the time, you do. And so it all depends on the severity level. Like, it could be stronger for others, could be less stronger. And it all depends on how much you've done in the past as well. For me, I was on Kratom for 5 years, but I was taking the 7-OH products for the past half a year before I stopped, because that's when they introduced it a little bit. I forgot. Maybe it was more than 6 months. I don't know. But I would do it a lot. And so it was. I'm just glad I'm done with it, and I stopped. I've been 4 months clean, and it just feels amazing that I never thought I would be clean from Kratom. I really never. I thought I'd be doing it for the rest of my life. I remember taking it, and I was just like, when am I gonna stop this? Am I ever gonna stop? Those thoughts will be rolling through my head. All right, so let's go to the next story. This one is called "Stay the Fuck Away from 7-OH Hydroxy." If you are on this sub, then you are like me and many others, trying to kick Kratom, and this is on the r/quitting Kratom subreddit. Many of you are ex-junkies like myself, using Kratom as a pacifier of sorts to stay clean or bridge the gap or all of the above. Kratom is wonderful for that, and is much lighter on the body than the bupropion option. I've gone that route and begged the Lord Almighty to reach out and snatch my soul during the withdrawal from that monster. Months-long fight for my life. I was in the clear after that battle. Then came Kratom. For a couple of years I was good, stable. Just like you, I was trying to quit all the time, usually unsuccessful, but what the hell in the scheme of things? I wasn't sitting in a Circle K bathroom prepping a rig or crushing a pill to snort. Anyway, ended up stabilizing on 1 to 2 OPMS shots a day. All good. I could purposefully get busy on a Saturday and manage not to do them with too much issue withdrawal-wise. Mostly mental, a little restlessness and anxiety. Walk in the park for us battle-hardened youngsters. Am I right? So I walked into my store a couple of months ago, and my guy says he has some free samples of this new product. My eyes bulged when I saw they isolated and concentrated the good alkaloid, the fabled 7-hydroxymetragenine, the shit you read about on Wikipedia that is a fuck ton more potent than morphine, but in such low quantities in the powder and shots. Gets your addicted brain twitching out and salivating thinking about it. Fuck the regular MIT, they got the hydroxy MIT purified. God damn if I didn't hop on a manic magic carpet and sail to the fucking moon off that 115 milligram sample. I thought, hell no, this shit is the real deal. Nearly indistinguishable from the Roxy buzz I was hooked on all those years. Panic and warning lights exploded in my head, but so did excitement and awe. Guess what took over? The next day I woke up and had a legit opiate hangover I hadn't felt since before I got on subs years ago. I told myself, stay away, man. That shit will grab you and you'll be back into a puddle of fiending worthlessness all over again. I debated telling this story because you know what most of us addicts will take from this. This will make half of you jones out and ready to zip up your jacket and get your ass down to the store to pick some up for yourself. I don't want to perpetuate this awful stuff. Please, please, please take heed. Anyway, fast forward to today where I sit on the couch dumbfounded. I've consumed 15 of these pills in 2 30-milliliter shots. Yes, they make these into shots as well. I'm full on junkie status. Leaving work, fuck consequences, to get more because my lunch score didn't quite hit the spot all the way. I'm now taking powder in the morning to get me to work and hold until the store opens, running at open time for a 5-pack box, running at lunch for a box, but adding the shots too because I'm chasing that high, and then finishing my day by picking up a 5-pack box on the way home. Jesus Christ. I'm a pretty successful scientist. I make more than 6 figures and don't have many bills. After taxes and 401k, etc., I'm pulling $3,000 take home every 2 weeks. I now live paycheck to paycheck and have racked up thousands of credit card debt because I run out of cash a few days before payday. I understand not everyone is like me. You have self-control. You have your nifty little taper schedule you stick to. You could say no and blah blah. For those of you that don't, do not try. It will leave you begging for salvation when the dust settles. I'm not going back to the thing I swore I never would touch again, buprenorphine. I'm hopeful I can do this quickly and concise. 1 to 2 weeks and done. Wish me luck. Glad I shared. I can look back on this post and reflect. Hope it helps. TLDR, stay away from 7OH. You'll be broke and miserable and likely begging the Lord above for death, or at least the very least, a tragic accident that leaves you incapacitated and unable to redose. Excuse me. So yeah, this guy got super addicted off of it. Again, it just grabs you like a grappling hook, man. It just it gets you going. Like, that's what it did to me. Like, as soon as I took it, I was like, okay, this stuff is very powerful. I know it. And yeah. But yeah, we got 2 more stories here. Let's see how much we got. We got 17 minutes on here. So yeah, let's read these two left stories that we got here and finish the video. This one is called Boy Oh Boy, I Done Goofed Up with the 7-Hydroxy. I had no problems taking normal Kratom. I could skip a day with no withdrawal symptoms, was taking about 10 grams per day. Then my mom had face surgery and they didn't want to give her any decent meds for her face pain, so I took my buddy's advice and went up to the local head shop and got some pressed blues. About a week of binging and using up to 3.5 pills per day. I'm cooked, y'all. These withdrawals are different than normal opiate/opioid withdrawals. It actually reminds me of the weird twitchy CNS withdrawals you get from alcohol or benzos, plus that BS from opiate withdrawal. Not fun. Withdrawals hit me like a brick all of a sudden out of nowhere this morning. I guess I'll keep everyone posted. I've been miserably only taking regular Kratom powder for the last 13 or so hours, but I just caved and took half of a red pressed. It's pseudo 7OH apparently. Seems to have longer legs than regular 7OH. So yeah, you gotta be careful about those pressed products, like they're actually called pressed. I've also gotten floaters in my eyes and been seeing weird flashes in my peripheral vision. All of these things are new to me, and now in hindsight I found out it's the Kratom and I could have permanent vision damage. Lesson learned. I think I'm ready to get off of everything I'm currently on. I got off heroin and Suboxone about 10 years ago. I quit drinking 3 years ago. I quit nicotine on May 1st, and now I'm down to Kratom and Mary Jane. Yeah, another thing is if you try it, you have a very high chance that you're going to get addicted. You know, it's just that easy, just trying it. So do not try it, guys. Do not fucking try it. All right, this last one is a little short one, just like the last one. So let's just read it and finish the video, and we'll go from there. And yeah. Please don't take 7OH is the title of this video, or title of the story, excuse me. I've been taking about 6 tabs of 7 ohms a day for about 2 months. I went for a routine doctor's appointment and had to get the usual blood work like I do for every 3 months. Well, they called me the next day, asked me to come in for the results. I went in and my doctor said, your liver enzymes are over 200 when they should be 40 or lower. He then asks, what have you been doing differently since July? Your levels were perfect in July. I told him about the Kratom extract tablets and he'd never heard of them, so he orders more blood work, a CT scan to rule out cancer. All tests came back normal, thank God. He sat me down and explained that he believes it to be a buildup of toxins that were actively attacking my liver. I've been experiencing fatigue and dull pain in my right quadrant, and I still am. It's going to take some time for these levels to go down. Needless to say, I stopped taking them. High liver enzymes can damage your liver, and if left untreated, can kill you. I wouldn't have known if it hadn't been for my routine blood work. Stay safe, everyone. Yeah, so that's another dangerous part, because usually with Kratom, your liver will be affected right away if it is very sensitive to it, and you might turn yellow like a jaundice type of thing. But yeah, 7-hydroxymetragenine, you got to be careful. Like, I wonder what my liver enzymes look like when I was taking it. They probably weren't that good. So hopefully they're a little bit better now. And I just stopped drinking yesterday. I started yesterday because the day before I drank, but yesterday I made a pledge I will never drink again. So it's sad to say that I won't be drinking Miller High Lifes anymore, because I love the taste of them. You know, they're the greatest beer of all time. I have a hat, a winter hat, a shirt about it, and it's just amazing beer. But I really can't be drinking that stuff when I'm also taking my medications as well, because I was drinking like 6 times a week, if maybe 7. I don't know. There'd be times where I drank a week straight, and it just got out of hand. So I need to quit drinking. Yeah, I can't just keep it for going out, because I know if I go out and drink, I'll want to buy some more when I get home, and I'll have it for later. It's currently in my refrigerator, but my mom's gonna drink them, so yeah, I will never drink beer again, never drink liquor again, never drink alcohol again. I'll stay sober from that. Since I stayed sober from Kratom, I had the willpower to do that. I hopefully can do this, and I'm just experiencing a lot of health issues from drinking, I think, so that's why I wanted to stop, and it's just very dangerous. So I want to be clean from everything. This year, so far, I stopped gambling in February. I was gambling like twice a week, maybe once to twice a week, and that was getting to be a major problem for me. So I'm glad I stopped that. So I'm 9 months clean from gambling, and then I'm a little over 4 months clean from Kratom, and a little over a day and a half clean from alcohol. So yeah, I haven't gone 2 days without drinking alcohol in probably months, maybe even a year. I don't know. Yeah, maybe not that long, but yeah, I just got really into the high lifes and Coors banquets too. You know, that got me as well recently. I'm gonna miss it, but it's for the best. It's for the best, guys. I cannot occasionally drink. I cannot occasionally drink because it will just become a habit again. And like I said, with the medication, it's not good to mix that shit at all. And hopefully I didn't do any permanent damage to myself. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you guys want any more types of videos like this where it's kind of like a commentary a little bit, this is what I do on my second channel, but it's more of a funny thing. This is more of a serious tone. I was going to actually make this for the second channel, but I wanted to put this on the main one because I thought this was an important issue to talk about, because 7-hydroxymetragenine is taking over. It's just a very big product now, and everyone who's taking Kratom has heard of it, and they are taking it. So yeah. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. I'm expecting the hate comments from the Kratom users. So yeah, I won't be surprised by that. But yeah, so if you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe if you're new. And stay safe out there, guys. Touch grass. I was a pill addict for years because I had a doctor who didn't actually want to help me with my pain problems. He just kept throwing pills at me over and over for years. I was tired of Oxy and Hydros and wanted to stop, so I started using Kratom to curb my addiction and the fiending I'd feel for the meds I'd been on for over 5 years. It seemed completely fine at first, like I could take a little bit at the start of my day and feel fine for the next 12 plus hours. But then I started taking more and more over years until it didn't even work anymore. Then, sometime this last year, some new products came out that basically synthesized the strong stuff from the plant itself, and I was instantly hooked on it. Those of you who know it's almost exactly like taking those opioid meds, except possibly way more expensive since my insurance wouldn't cover it, obviously. My husband and I make really good money, like we should be doing well for ourselves, but my addiction to that trash rendered us basically broke, evicted from our nice home, and now we're skimping by apartment living, even though the rent is cheap and we have half the bills we had previously, all because of my addiction to that garbage. My consistent use only became apparent as of yesterday afternoon. I started lying, habitually, about where our money was going, and just lying in general. I never was that kind of person until I became so severely chemically dependent that it didn't matter what I said or did, or how I got my money for it, that I'd do it. I feel like the literal worst person on earth currently. It's day one for me of being entirely open and honest about my addiction problem, and while it's rendered me unburdened to a degree, I've never felt worse about myself and how I think everyone in my life now views me because of everything that's come out. I'm trying to find a community of people who know what I'm feeling, because this seems like the lamest thing to fall victim to, but I'm also tired of pretending that this shit isn't dangerous. So please, if you're at a smoke shop or corner store and you're curious about trying it, just don't. It's truly not worth it. It's jeopardized my marriage and relationships overall.
I've been here before, multiple times. I've posted, I've lurked, I've quit more times than I can count in every way out there. I've relapsed, I've quit again, etc., using a throwaway this time. I had a 7-year addiction to kratom powder, averaging about 30 grams per day. 6 months ago, I finally quit cold turkey after many failed attempts. It was hell, but I got through it, and for a little while, I was free. Then came the slip-ups. At first, it was like the normal relapse that I've had in the past, which usually consists of me buying a small bag of powder and using it to realizing it either didn't really give me much of a buzz at all, or gave me an unpleasant buzz that was just not worth it whatsoever. Then I tried 7-OH. I had heard the stories about it, and you knew it wasn't anything to play with. But I was thinking, I've already beat the addiction and the hard part of all this, so this will just be a one last time treat. Ever since then, I've been caught in a cycle, using for several days, maybe stringing together 1 or 2 clean days, and then right back to it, again and again. 7-OH is an entirely different beast, and I highly recommend against anyone trying it if you have a history of addiction whatsoever. When I'm using it, I'm taking anywhere from 30 to 60 milligrams at a time, totaling sometimes up to 150 milligrams a day. I don't have the money for this shit, and recently the store that I buy from is selling 2 packs of 30 milligram pills for $10, which has made it even harder to stop because I can much more easily justify a $10 morning buzz than the usual 30 or so that a lot of them cost. Each time I tell myself it's the last time, but you all know how that goes. That lie has cost me money I don't have, peace I was starting to rebuild, and most of all, my integrity. Please do not fall for the one last time like I've been doing now for months. It's a trick that our lower selves play on us, and it only weakens your commitment and discipline. My wife has been struggling deeply with her own mental health, and I felt like I couldn't keep burdening her with my relapses. So I stopped telling her just a couple small secrets to avoid the guilt, but those couple turned into many, and the secrecy, that's the part that's eating me alive. I know that coming clean is the antidote to the guilt, but probably no one here will understand that it wouldn't end our relationship, but it would just cause her more disturbance than what it's worth. So I need to just get clean and then tell her when she is in a better place. So I'm here to say, I can't live like this anymore. I'm not going to let this thing take me deeper. Tomorrow is day 1. This post is my line in the sand. I need accountability. I need to break the silence. I need to remember that I'm not alone in this fight. Thanks for reading. I'm in this for real now. I don't know how many of you have dealt with this shit, but I am a full-blown addict. I've spent nearly $5,000 on it in the past 6 months and have been taking 200 plus milligrams a day. Every attempt I've made to taper, I've ended up taking more eventually. Now, I'm starting to have scary physical side effects. I feel this constant crawling and pinching feeling in my right upper quadrant, middle of my back, also getting stabbing pain in the liver area. My pinky finger had gone numb on my right hand. I'm trying to quit and starting to taper again. The world just keeps getting stressful with my relationship with my girlfriend and her kids, and then life just seems so heavy all around lately. I don't want to die from this shit. I had my blood work done recently and all my levels are in the normal range, but I read you can really be fucking your liver up and levels will still be at normal. I just recommend you all to stay clear of the 7-hydroxymetragenine shit, or at least don't do what I've done and end up taking so much. I feel empty without it, but with it, I know I'm hurting myself. I feel like I have completely lost who I am. I've been crying nearly every day. I find no joy in anything anymore. I am extremely lethargic all the time and don't want to do anything but lay in bed. Dosing helps the lethargy for maybe a couple hours before it comes back in full force. I'm a plumber, so my job is obviously very physically demanding, and it is so hard to go to work every day. I dread it. I quit giving a fuck at work. I used to be the type of plumber that took a lot of pride in my work. Now I find myself cutting more and more corners so I can hurry up and get back to my bed. Not to mention, I feel like I'm always a dick to my apprentice now, and probably come off as a dick to customers because I'm just so low all the time. I really want myself, but I can't because I have a family that depends on me. I feel so terrible. I've not been doing anything with my 2 children, and I'm always irritable with them. They probably hate me now. My poor daughter has been suffering with depression, and I feel I am to blame. I am so mean to everyone. My kids deserve so much more than I am able to give. I have only been on 7-OH for like 4 months. That's how quick my life fell apart. I was depressed before, but this is on a whole other level. This is an all-time low for me. I have always done drugs. I've even done meth. I've been able to keep my drug use in check for the most part, until I discovered 7-OH. When I first started getting dependent, I took a break. I found the withdrawals sucked, but were manageable, so I convinced myself to keep using, but just take a break now and then. Now things are much worse though, and I find the withdrawals are completely unmanageable, panic-inducing really. I don't know why I'm making this post. I just needed to get this off of my chest. I know what I need to do, but I am just so scared. I don't think I can handle quitting. Death seems preferable. I'm going to say this loud and clear for everyone in the early stages of quitting, currently, or have already quit. Do not take this 7-OH shit. It's fucking poison. It's nothing like the extracts, and it's a very, very taxing drug on the body. I have done every single thing under the sun, and I can honestly say with confidence that this is by far, bar none, the absolute worst drug I've ever taken when it comes to detoxing. It's not the physical that's bad, it's the mental. I've never experienced so much brain fog and mental decline like I have with just 4 months of daily use. I also have terrible vision issues that keep me up at night. Lights are debilitating. Sound is loud and dissonant. It was the nail in the coffin for me in my Kratom journey. I literally had a spiritual awakening because of my suffering with this drug. I promise you, if you continue to take this shit daily for over a year, you will undoubtedly 110% experience lifelong problems that will stay with you and hover over you like a looming threat on your health. Get off this shit. Taper with extract. Hell, do anything other than this shit. It is not worth the high.